continue for where we left off. For the rest of the session, I want you to really listen into some of the key insights to help you with your business. Starting from day 2, if we had Christo. Jared, this was your first time listening to Christo.
Yep.
What's the one thing that you got out of him that you said, this is what I really ultimately learned from Chris?
Think, and I'm just revisiting my notes too. I think the part for him, then I think he's like you, just differently. You don't dress like him. That's for starters, but he takes a very contrarian belief with how to stand out. And he's like, the things like don't chase new ideas, repeat what works, but also like it's okay. I think he was one that's it's okay to be a little corny. That's how you stand out, but don't try to reinvent the wheel and use your weakness as talk about your weaknesses. And an example for me, weaknesses is I don't really like to post about the negative stuff about my business because people are like, oh, you always get in your head about it. And I posted about a negative my last week about how many shit deals had come up for me. And it was one of the best posts I've had in a month.
Okay. That's interesting. I don't remember the weaknesses part.
I'm just going, I have a bunch of notes and ads.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna frame that a little bit differently. So just hold that.
Okay.
Core, what did you take out of Chris and seeing Chris? Like, what's your main thing about Chris?
My main thing is just that good versus different matrix that he talked about, where you can be good, but not different, which makes you a commodity. You can be different, but not good, which is a fad, or good and different, which makes you premium. Taking that framework plus what he talked about, I think it was with the 1% rule, just how the small differences compound, and just trying to apply that to be different and good, right? So most of us are good at what we do. Now we just got to focus on like that 1% that just makes us a little bit different. And now we're a premium versus a commodity. I really took that to heart, and I've gone back over every process that I do and just try to say, hey, how can I apply that 1% rule and just make this that much better that it's different from my competition?
Probably did this a little bit backwards, but let me introduce Christo. So that'll make sense. Christo is a branding expert. He wears black and he wears black hats. Doesn't mean we look the same. No, we do, Jared's. But he's a branding expert. Here's the thing about Chris. The brand is more important than the quality of the product. And is more important than the quality of the product. He would say, does Nike really make the best athletic equipment? Mike was going to say, hell yeah, because they're more in it. But should Nike really make the best equipment, or do they have the best brand? So if you think about what wins, is the best product or is it the best? And he basically has to remind you all that you guys are a brand. And the reason why some of you aren't succeeding as much as you want to succeed is either your brand is distinctive enough or doesn't project the greatness you want to project. Like, you're really great, but it's the brand project it. So, Court, when you look at yourself in the Atlanta market and you had to compare yourself to other originators, where realtors are looking at you, forget about what you can actually do, but what is the perception of you? What is the brand, right? What is their perception about who you are, how you're different, how you're better? Brand is something, I think Christo is one of the most impactful speakers because brand is almost 100%. I look at the most when it comes to my coaching business. I'm highly invested in my brand. Very particular. Because I want my brand to be, you said, Core, let's look at this matrix. You don't want to be just good. If you're good but not different, you don't want to be that, and you don't want to be different but not good. You want to be good and different. And so my brand is contrarian, a little bit of the word that Jared was looking for. I'm contrarian because I want to stop spending like it's 2005, build a modern mortgage business that attracts and converts. Old models wearing you down. Cold calling. If they tell you to go back to the 6, they're telling you to go back in time. That's intentional branding positioning for me to be different. Gotta back that up with good. I've got to back that up with, well, Kai's telling me not to do the old thing. What is so great, the new thing, and how we started was a little bit of that. It's me showing you, we don't need to cold call agents. You could have invited them to this event. You can parlay using a combination of one-to-one traditional and technology to make yourself extremely good. And so I got the branding behind it as a modern, innovative coach, have the good behind it. So let me ask you this question. Let's make this an exercise, and then we close up, Krista. What brand do you want to reflect? Okay, we're going to start with this first. That makes you different. What brand do you want to reflect that makes you different in the marketplace? And this is a hard question. A lot of you have not asked yourself this question. Most of you say, well, I do loans, I do a good job, I close on them, and I do this. But what brand can you reflect that's going to make you different? I'll put you on the seat, Jared. What would that be for you?
Like an actual brand, tie it to my brand.
What is the differentiation for Jared's mortgages that would make it a little different? And sometimes it's a little bit hard to think about. So I'll give you some ideas, but what is something that is the differentiator for you?
Differentiator for me is, if I'm talking to a realtor, the differentiator for me, but to most lenders, is my client is the realtor. My job is to make your business look so good that we both get 5-star reviews, that we both get endless referrals.
Okay,
And
so your
how we
brand,
do that.
approach realtors, your brand is about mutual growth together. Your brand is you're the client, not that. You're going to approach it a little different.
Correct.
My brand, when I originated, was getting mortgages is hard. It doesn't have to be. Let me show you the easiest mortgage process ever. My brand, right? I branded myself as the go-to for the easiest, most enjoyable mortgage process ever. Because it's the complete opposite of that, right? Just like I try to say, doing mortgage business does not have to be that hard. It's not about grinding the phone and getting cold calls. Let me show you an alternative way. Part of my brand, and we're going to get into Codie Sanchez, who's my idol, is contrarian thinking, which is whatever your competition is doing, do the complete opposite. Do the complete opposite. That's a brand. I notice I'm looking in the chat and I haven't had any answers. Probably a really hard question, right? It's probably a really hard question.
So when some people are marketing low rates, I should market my high rates? Is that what you're telling me? I'm kidding.
So by the way, for anybody who's a Scale and Grow member, not everybody here, but next weekend we have Diana Shikian, who is a life insurance broker. And she's very interesting in her brand because she says, I'm a life insurance broker for entrepreneurs and business owners. And I had coffee with her and answered this question. I said, why do you target them? She says, I target them for 2 reasons. Number one, they have enough money to afford life insurance. And number two, they're better decision makers when it comes to their future, and they're faster decision makers when they come to their future. They make decisions differently. But her brand in itself stands because your typical life insurance broker is like to the public, right? So she niches herself into that brand. Now, the second part of it is like whatever brand that you do, you got to be good at it. Jared, if you say that, you got to be really good at it. You got to deliver. And Core, I guess I should put you on the spot because you brought it up. What have you chosen your brand to be different? Because you got to be different.
So that's largely what I'm working on. What did he mention? It was like, hang on, I get in my notes. The inversion exercise, where you list everything that you do to blend in and then start doing the opposite. So I'm trying to I've been all caught up with personal stuff and different things. I'm diving back in a lot here, but that's what I've really been trying to think about. Okay, what am I doing everywhere? Not just with the way that I'm doing mortgages, but with my brand that's just blending in and making me sound like a voice that they might hear 100 times. And I'm just trying to do the opposite.
Yeah.
That's what I'm really trying to define. A lot of my brand here in Atlanta is luxury. So I'm trying to get around or get my head around how I'm going to market to that and really just hone in on that brand where it's luxury, it's self-employed, it's entrepreneurs, and just trying to build that identity around that a little bit.
What you just identified is what's called a pattern interrupt. One of the things I used to do when I was an originator is everybody would send Christmas cards. You ever get that Christmas card from your mortgage company? I get it every single year from my financial planner and I hate it. What he does, and by the way, I went to college with my financial planner, so I didn't make fun of him. He takes the company financial planning card, he puts his business card in, it says happy holiday, and he signed his name, Kevin. And I'm like, Kevin, can you stop doing that, dude? It just fit in. You know what I used to do? So first of all, when you get that Christmas card, doesn't make it up on your wall, then make it up on your wall. Make it up on your wall, all your personal friends, all the family photos and everything. So first idea is, hey, maybe do a personal photo of yourself. Because why? That's the opposite of what somebody would do. In other situations, when I used to go and hang with real estate agents, and anybody that lives in Southern California, you know this, lenders always show up in like button-up shirts, and agents show up in like casual clothes and jeans. So I started showing up in casual clothes and jeans because I did the opposite. I wanted to fit in with the realtors and not fit in with the loan officers. And then I got invited to TGI Friday. When I looked at me, hey, so what brokerage do you work for? Do you work for like 21 Gold Banker? I looked at him and said, no, dude, I'm a lender, right? Paddling in the road. Back to my Christmas story. But what I used to do is I used to send people Easter cards on Christmas. And when they opened it up, he would say, I know this is an Easter card, but they were on sale. Merry Christmas with you and your family. And always made it up on the wall. So branding was different. Let me show you another pattern interrupts. We had a session one time where we had a special session with Bo for the Grow and Scale members. So if you want these special sessions, you got to be in that program. And one of the members, Bobby, talked about how he lives here in Austin, talked about how he to smoke a brisket. That's the hobby. So here's what both.
Bob, I think that if you created content around real estate, around rates, or around mortgages while you were smoking a brisket, think about it like this. I think this will be really nice visually to look at it. And even write this down, or we can put it in the chat or whatever. So you have depth and you have reach. And most of the time, what we do, myself included, we've all done this if you've done it long enough. You sacrifice depth for reach. You want to do the things that get all the views because it's vanity metrics. You want to be able to show your buddies, I got 1 million views, I have 500 comments, I have all these things, but you sacrifice the depth. But I think that when you do the smoking the brisket content, you get both, right? You'll definitely get the reach because guess what? Now you're going to reach people who don't care about mortgages or don't think they care about mortgages until you start talking about it, but they never would have stayed on the video unless you were smoking that brisket. Bob, I think that if you created content.
That's an ASMR video. And I told Jared, I said, dude, play ball. And Court was a ball. Play ball and do content while you're playing ball and then talk about stuff. Although watching Bob smoke a brisket is probably more interesting because I want to see how it starts to brisket, but still, with the ASMR, we're playing basketball. It's just different. That's the whole thing about Chris. What's your brand? Bobby can make a whole brand on the brisket mortgage guy. That brand. We have to think. I want everybody to. All right, let's keep going here. So Christo, amazing. He had a company called The Future. Look him up. Let's go on to Ryan Leake. Ryan Leake, a lot of great talks here. Court said he was one of the best speakers you've ever heard. I think you guys should follow Ryan Leake as well. By the way, every single person that we talked about before, I want you to follow them on social media. On it. Ryan, let me tell you basically what his concept was. Let's see, I may not have put it in his whole thing was, it's called the game of inches. Ryan's entire thing was, if you want to be better, it's literally a game of inches. And that's the difference. So the game of inches is, and again, I'm just using you as an example, Peter, is the game of inches. I sent a broadcast to my agents and nobody showed up. The game of inches is Jared saying, I picked up the phone and I just started calling people. Those inches in communication is what got his agents to show up. The inches is calling up an agent, first of all, calling them up to begin with and say, did you like the event? The next game of inches for you, Jared, is I'll be your coach. Let's do this weekly. One more inch, one more inch, one more inch. Jared, you're feet away from everybody else. And those feet away from everybody else compounds. That's the overall thing. Corey, you listened to Ryan a couple times. What was another takeaway or big takeaway that you love from Ryan?
My notes here. So you talked about the inches. I really like the question. I've heard it twice from him where he asked, what's it like to be on the other side of me? I really like addressing that question because it really makes you think from a business perspective, like, how am I doing things, right? Am I the most professional I can be? Like, am I delivering a professional level of service? So what's it like for my clients to talk to me? What's it like for a first-time home buyer to talk to me? What's it like for
in their shoes?
Yeah, exactly. And I think when you start to peel back those layers, you just realize, hey, here's a gap. Here's where I can now apply that game of inches and just improve here. Yeah.
Put yourself in your client's shoes. What do they experience? So one thing that I had to do recently was I had to experience what it was like to coach with me. I do it all the time, but I was asking myself, what is it like to coach with me? And one of the flaws that I saw was how do I actually deliver what I promise? Hard, right? Because I had to deliver what I promised. And I say this with a ton of transparency, guys, but I just signed on a new client. We're gonna do privates. She paid for my highest level private session. And I say one of the things play coaches is you have this really great call and this is what I'm gonna do. And the experience is a little bit different. It's like you said, Court, I had to put myself in their shoes because I've actually been a coach client before and I've paid coaches and the experience is a little bit different than I thought it was going to be. Right? So I put myself in their shoes. How do I change that? So what I did with this, I'm going to already lay out what every session is going to be for you. So you already know what you're going to get into. And so now that you see what every session is going to be and what every session we're going to talk about over the next 6 months, is this what you imagined? Because if it's what you imagined, and she said, that's everything I imagined. I want to get started. That's a game of inches, and I'm going to tell you why it's a game of inches. I had put in extra time to do the work. Look at this proposal that I sent somebody to do the work. And I had to trust a 2 closed call, not a single closed call where I pitched somebody and I said, you want to sign it? But I had to trust a 2 closed call. They put in work to create this document. This document probably took me 30, 40 minutes to create. But that's the game of inches. That's the game of inches. Jared, any other takeaways that you remember from Ryan?
I think he talked about, how did he phrase it? It's like the game of intentionality as well, like just being super intentional with what you do. And that resonates with me a lot because and it bled into the Johnny Cupcakes thing, which is another speaker, but just like you're essentially, when you're being intentional, whether it be like a gift or like his example was a Ritz-Carlton valet asked him, can I take out your trash? Like it was something small, not something that he really expected, but it was like intentionally and like just build
He said, take everybody's birthday, figure out the half birthday, and then call them on their half birthday. And say, hey, I know you get bombarded every single with birthdays and maybe they don't mean anything special, but it's because it's your half birthday. People are gonna go, I didn't realize today was like, I don't know the date of my half birthday. I'm born in March. So 3 plus 6 is probably 8/25, I'm thinking. That's my half birthday. So I just made people aware of their half birthday. And he said that when I asked, how you doing? They say, I'm doing okay. He always says, now, how you really doing? Like I have intention to really get to know people. See, saying, how are you doing, Jared? There's no intention there. It's just a greeting. No, how are you really doing? How's the family? It shows real intention.
My intentionality ends up being like, for an example, one of the realtors that refers me clients, she was up playing golf with one of the clients that we close. So I just bought them a 6-pack of beer. And it's something stupid and it cost me maybe $15, but that client then referred me her cousin, actually literally the 2 weeks later after that.
And I love this one too. Don't create content, be the content. In other words, Neil talked about this. Show the journey. If you're working on, so let's just say that, like I told you guys right now, we're going to have Crystal Mucha sometime in September. Don't wait for that. Create content for it now. You hang up the phone. Matt, you can do this with Bonzo. Man, I just heard something really exciting from my coach. We somehow got Crystal Mucha to do an exclusive event with us in September. We don't know the date yet, but I'm really excited. If you're interested, you want me to spot, DM or reply to me now. Talk about it in the journey, right? And then along the way, we just picked the date and the time. We already have 20 people pre-register. Let me show you some of the clips from her previous session. You see what I'm saying? Build it in the journey. I was helping a friend of mine. He owns a roofing company, and I was trying to help him create content. And content is sometimes, well, this is the roof that I did, etc. I said, you just need to do what's in my truck, right? Show a film like, hey, I'm on my way through roofing inspection. Let me just show you let me show you what I packed in my truck today. Let me show you my work fit. Let me show you what I do. Let me show you the behind the scenes core. Let me show you behind the scenes footage of what I do to work with a loan, and then show like you sitting with your processor, and then throw some jokes in it. Have your underwriter with some boxing fun and throw a punch and things. Sometimes fight a little bit, but we still close your loan on time. Show that journey. Okay. Now, if some of you are looking at this and saying, that's amazing. Okay? It's a lot of work. Inches is a lot of work. Yeah, it's called the big leagues. Welcome to the big leagues. Okay. I'm going to make this statement to everybody. I want every single person to remember this statement. Some of you will not become the person you want to become because you're too in love with the person that you are now. You're not willing to let go of who you are now, what you do, and the things that you do. So you'll never be in the big league, minor league mentality.
I wrote a quote down that he said, that touches on that, where he said, an honest assessment of where you are is the foundation for where you want to go. I like that quote.
Yeah. You got to let go. If you say, that's not really me to be social media, you're too in love with the safe. You need to fall in love with the risky you. But I'm a private person. Yeah, you're in love with the fact that you're a private person. Getting you anywhere. You need to fall in love with being a public person. I told myself to the internet in 2007. The first time I Googled crime and bridal, I'm like, oh my God, I'm everywhere. And I'm just like, oh, let's just, now everybody knows where my kids go to school. Everybody knows everything, you know? Ryan Leake. Codie Sanchez, man, there is not enough time to talk about Codie Sanchez, and she's so complicated. I don't even know if I can really get what Codie talks about relative to mortgage. But what I can say is with Codie is, here's the one thing I read about Codie the most. So Codie Sanchez, if you don't know, she comes from Wall Street. She's an investor, and she went from Wall Street and she created a business called Contrarian Thinking, and I love it. And now she's more of a business entrepreneur, business influencer who helps, acquires, builds businesses and things like that. But here's what I love about Codie, and here's the one thing that I will take. And again, follow her. She will blow your mind. Here's the one thing I got out of Codie, and then Court and Jared, I'm going to ask you. Codie said this. She said, anytime I make a decision, I put it through the filter of how I did it on Wall Street. Okay. So why that's important. When I got into the mortgage business, what catapulted me to success was I did not think like a mortgage person. 99 loans a year is the lowest I've ever done in my 12 years originating, 99. 223 was the most. I averaged about 140, 100. And the reason why I say my average is I had to include the down years and the 2008. I was really close to 180 unit producer. But the reason why I was able to have that success came from the lens of a business owner. It didn't come from mortgage. Because mortgage people will say, this is how you do it. That doesn't mean that's how I have it done. How would another business do it? And that's what Codie was saying. She puts her businesses through the lens of what she knows works well, which is Wall Street investing. I don't put myself in this coaching business through the lens of a typical coach, because a typical coach is a sales coach, an accountability coach. I don't provide that sales coach and accountability experience. I'm providing you experience from outside businesses where they are progressing and innovating through the years. And I want to bring you guys into that world. That's what I see about Codie the most. And so if you're seeing the world simply through the lens of a mortgage and loan officer lens and a real estate lens, you're not going to be different enough or better enough, like Christo says. That was my biggest takeaway from Codie. Jerry, anything to add to that?
The biggest takeaway is whisper flow, which is what she uses for voice texting. I use that, and it is the best voice texting tool out there. And I think I don't.
Have you used it in your desktop, by the way?
I should. I don't know how. So what is it? Superhuman or something?
No, Whisperflow on your desktop. So Whisperflow, by the way, is a talk to text, but it's way better than talk to text, because if you use like your iPhone or your Android, it always makes mistakes. Just take dot and comma. You just literally talk to like a conversation, format everything perfect. It does bullets and everything when you want to. But you can put it on your desktop computer and you just press the Control Alt key on your computer and you just talk and you can dictate. And I just realized my mic is way over here. Lindsay's going to hate that because the sound's going to suck. Okay, we're going to have to put this through post editing. But you press a key and you can just talk to your computer and it types out everything for you. But yeah, the tools that she uses, Whisperflow is amazing if you guys want a way to be more productive. Is there something else that she talked about, or was that like the main thing?
I think her message to me, like the whole social media as a business thing doesn't resonate with me as much, but one thing that really resonated was the systematized a lot of stuff. So I think what I have here, some notes that I have is if you do something more than 3 times, like create an SOP for it.
Yeah.
And it's probably relevant to me because you do that and tell me to do that shit all the time. So that was like creating systems and creating plans, because eventually if you want to replace that task, then you got to have a plan for it.
Yep. Core, anything to add that Codie gave you?
Yeah, I think she, if I remember right, she related it to her content strategy. But I think overall, just like if you're building a team or something, that I came away with was at phase 1, you're just everything. And then phase 2, you're hiring generalists. And then phase 3, you start hiring specialists in specific areas.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think
yeah,
a lot of it's, a lot of it fit to that phase 2, right? We hire the loan partner, we hire the assistant, it's a generalist. But I've never really thought about, hey, like, how can we take this further and just continually, as you're growing a team, just try to hire your way out of the business, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
and
what he's
so-
talking, so what he's talking about is, for those of you that are at the higher levels, that would be like a Hermes or anybody else, that as at first you're going to always hire the generalists, you're going to hire the LOA. Want to do a little bit of everything. But as you grow your team, you can say, I have 2 LOAs. One person is really good with pre-approvals. The other person is really good with closing. So you get a little bit more specialists. And then your entire team is just all specialists. To me, the loan originator of the future has a marketing social media assistant, so that you guys aren't sitting there going, I'm going to edit videos. And you have a specialist in that, not just a marketing assistant, but like specific with social media. I'm going to end with this because I'm going to try not to go the full 90 minutes, even though we're going to go over 60 minutes. But I will say this was one of the funniest things that she said, because she gets asked a lot. Does she get a lot of hate sometimes because she's a successful female? And if you're female, like Michael and a few of you, she says, this is what I love about Codie. She's so brash. She's, first of all, scoreboard. I'm beating y'all. And but understand that we all have different powers, whether you're male or female, whether you're young or old, whether you're a certain ethnicity or not other certain ethnicity. And she said, just lean into your power. And the other thing that she said is this, and I thought it was really funny because it's true. She said, if you're scared to be out there on social media because you're going to get any type of hate, you're going to get any type of anger, it's generally going to be from a miserable middle-aged male, right? It's just somebody who's miserable with their life that just wants to do nothing but hate on you, because the people that support you, the people that like you, aren't going to do that. And so get over yourself, get over that part. Okay. There's a lot more greatness in the world to step into. All right. I thought Brian Miller, let me tell you about Brian Miller. Brian Miller was very captivating because he said something that was so compelling. So Brian Miller was a magician turned communication specialist. And Brian Miller said something. He said, so Brian Miller talked about how he would go out to these magic shows and he would do these like amazing magic shows. He'd be like, oh, I would give them a card and then I would give them an apple and then I would tell them to count to 3. And then all of a sudden the number 3 showed up in the card that was in the apple and it was like amazing. But I wasn't that popular and I wasn't getting rebooked. And then I would look at which were the magicians that were always getting booked and were always popular. And they would do like the most simplest basic things, like making an apple disappear or whatever. And he's like, it's so basic. Like, I'm doing more complicated things. Why is it that they're getting noticed and I'm not getting noticed? And this is what he said, because when it's simple, the audience can tell the story. So if Ulysses, you came to Brian Miller's show and there's this really complicated magic because there was a card and he made you count to 3 and he put it in his pocket, and then 20 seconds later, or somebody came for the audience. How do you explain that to somebody who didn't go to the show? Oh, he did this really complicated thing, but I couldn't explain it. But it's easy for you to explain. I gave my phone and he made it disappear. This is the lesson from that. If people cannot explain what you do and people cannot describe why you're best, then they ain't going to talk about you and ain't going to refer you. So the question is, what is the message you give out in the world so people can explain you easily to somebody else? And I thought about that through my lens, right? So if somebody were to talk about another loan officer, about me, what could they say? They could say, well, he's got this framework and he's got this community and he's got this and he's got that and he's got, or they can just say, if you're tired of cold calls, he'll show you a different way. So that's the messaging. That's the messaging I try to simplify. If you're tired of cold calls, he'll show you a better way. If you're tired of getting stuck in the old, he'll show you the new. It's simplifying the message so people can understand. Okay. And I've got a formula that I'm going to show you. But remember, if people cannot explain what you do and why you're great in a simple way. And here, by the way, here's not the message you want people to talk about you. Call Joaquin, he's got the best rates. Stay away from that message, right? Stay away from that message. But how about this? You know how mortgages are supposed to be really hard? Joaquin makes it easy. Call him and you'll find out. This is why realtors would use me. I made it a really simple thing. Work with Kai because you don't have to babysit the loan. You can get on with your life. I kept it that simple. And so, Jared, even though you're doing a lot of really great things, something simple would, because he treats me like I'm the client, that can be repeated. So, Jared, what else did you get from Brian?
That was pretty much the essence of what I took away is like, if you confuse people, I just think go back to like our loan process when people will get overwhelmed just because they don't understand like lingo and stuff like that. So just bring the clarity. It was just more furthering that point than obviously the framework that you're about to show. So I won't get ahead of myself.
And by the way, I find it easier with mortgage. And I find it a little bit harder when people talk about me as a performance coach, which is what I'm working on right now. How do I make me as a performance coach easier? The language is a little bit more. Do you ever feel stuck in life and you can't move forward? That's what Kai helps you with. Simple, right? Not like he's a mindset expert and he knows NLP and he knows this shit. Like, how do you make it like really simple? Okay. And he talked about some stuff. This was one example. I help busy restaurant owners distract patrons from long waits. This is actually a little bit more complicated, but I make positive memories. This is him saying, I'm not just a magician, because he wanted to be a little bit more impactful, but I help restaurant owners forget about long waits and have a positive experience. I know he wrote that, but I would have made it even simpler. I would say one of the things that plagues restaurants is sometimes it's busy and you have long wait. I distract them from that and I keep them entertained so they still have a great experience. That's like an easier way to say it, right? But that's what he says. That's important. That's important to the restaurant. And that's why you hire a magician. It's not like I can be a magician. It's like how I help you. Court, anything else to add with Brian?
You pretty much nailed it. Let me see what I got in my notes. Yeah, I know you talked a lot about the filter statement for audience to achieve blank by blank and just pinning that down so that you can bring that clarity and test that clarity. Because what did he say? If you can't explain your business in one sentence, it's too complex.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really it. It's just like getting clear and just understand. Was he the one that said audience first always or something along those lines? So always just thinking it from the audience perspective.
Okay, we're going to move on to Johnny Cupcakes. And I want to find somebody quickly. I want to find this photo really quickly because it relates to Johnny Cupcakes. But Jared, could you talk a little bit about who Johnny, keep it short, like who he is, why he's so different because he's different, and what you got out of it while I find this photo?
Yeah. Johnny Cupcakes is a guy who started a business, as you can see it, like the world's first t-shirt bakery. So basically created a business around what appears to be a storefront bakery. It smells like a bakery. The whole experience is it would be as you go to a bakery, but he sells t-shirts. And his whole idea around the business is creating an experience that people will talk about and standing out that way and being intentional about the customer experience. So that's pretty much the essence of it. And then it has expanded to the evolution of the t-shirts to now he's doing creative t-shirts with massive brands across the US. And it's clearly a niche thing, but like one of the examples he said was, I did a breakfast t-shirt drop, but you could only get it before 11 a.m. So if you wanted to buy my breakfast t-shirt, you had to be in here by 11, like a McDonald's.
Yeah, so what he would do is really crazy. Johnny Cupcakes, his storefront is a bakery. And when you walk inside, it smells like a bakery. And the way he did it was he would just have like vanilla scents all over the place, the little air fresheners all over the place. So it smelled like a bakery. And what he would do is he would say, we're serving breakfast. And he would have these t-shirts that would say Johnny Cupcakes. And it'd be like this whole graphic of like breakfast and cool cartoony. And then he would serve it. And then when he served it to you, he would serve it in a bakery box, like you're buying a box of donuts. And so the whole experience was different. And Johnny blew up by doing this whole experience. Okay, so let's see. I got
the box.
That's just the box and inside is t-shirts. And so the way he delivered it is,
can't see.
You pull it, if you actually pull it back a little bit. Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you something that kind of made me think about that a little differently. So I did this for a while. And for those of you that never got this, don't feel gypped. There was a lot of reasons why I stopped doing this, but I'm going to redo this again. When people would join when I would have new people in my coaching company, I used to send this box, and inside the box, it was like a really nice box and it was branded. And I would do things like I would have a wristband, I have this little welcome card, and I would give people books, and then I'd give people a planner. It was really cool. Now, if I was thinking about this through the Johnny Cupcake lens, now, first of all, nobody does that, but I've started to see some people do it. I know Tim Brahim does it. I know that, by the way, did I share that screen? Was I showing my screen when I did that?
No.
Jared, was I showing that video when I was walking through it?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, I was. Okay, sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry, sometimes I don't know if I share my screen. Anyways, but I've seen Denise Donahue. She just came up with a box too. But here's the thing. I've started to realize Rene Rodriguez does it. He sends people a box with books. So in Johnny Cupcake fashion, it's like, all right, what's really a little different, right? First of all, is it a black box? Or could it be a bakery box? It was funny. I ran into Denise Donahue afterwards and we were talking about it. She goes, man, I'm going to send them a freaking giant fortune cookie. They got to crack open, right? Like we were just thinking, like, imagine if just a giant fortune cookie showed up, or just imagine if this whole like wedding cake box, you look like, dude, is there a wedding cake? Why does it say KM Performance Coaching? It's like a big cake box. Got to open it up. Like, it's got to be a little different. And it's okay. I get it. Here's the thank you. Here's the books. But I don't know. Send them a Whoop band. Send them something just like different things, other things that have to do with business. And that's the whole thing about that Johnny Cupcakes is, remember, Johnny's whole thing is like, people only have so much time to experience with you. Can you make that as memorable as possible? And what he did was he made buying a cupcake buying a t-shirt so memorable that it felt like you're buying a cupcake. So if you have 90 days with somebody, how can you make that as memorable as possible in the experience? Jared, any takeaways for Johnny? Oh, sorry, you introduced him.
Yeah. I did
Sorry.
it. So
Sorry. But Court, anything else besides that box? Because you've seen him. Oh, by the way, you saw him speak a couple times because you're in Neil's mastermind. He was wheeled in a crate that they opened up the crate for him to be introduced. Like it was something crazy like that.
Yeah, it was like that's one of his like biggest things. Like he got delivered in a coffin to one of his shows or one of his debuts. But yeah, when they brought him in like this crate and cracked it open, all the like the balls spilled out all over the stage. That was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, what I like about his talk, and you touched on it, but like the experience over the product. So it's like, yeah, we all sell rates, fees, all of that sort of stuff. But what's the experience behind that? And then what I've really tried to think about is community over customers. Like, how can you take what's normally a 30 to 90 day transaction that you're with somebody and kind of start to build that into a community so that your customer retention's better and those sort of things? Because you forget that people are doing something every 3 to 5 years with their home, right? It's easy to just put them out of sight, out of mind. But if you can build that community, get referrals from that community, et cetera, you're going to.
I want to show you one of the most eye-opening prompts I ever asked myself on ChatGPT. Okay. So first of all, give me a big yes if you've been like all in on AI and chat and everything else. Just put that in the chat. Give me a big yes. So I use chat all the time. Make sure you have your own account because then it memorizes who you are. It gets to know who you are. So this is a prompt that you want to ask yourself. And it was eye-opening for me because it had to do with me personally, but it was eye-opening because of what Court just explained. Okay. This is the prompt. Tell me something incredibly special or unique you've noticed about me that I have not. Can be positive or negative, just be honest. And this is what it said. One thing that I noticed is you approach things with such intense bias toward efficiency and execution and systems. You overlook the fact that your success comes from your personality and your presence as a person. You don't realize how often people buy into who you are as a person first, and then your framework second. Okay. The risk is if you underplay this, you will overinvest in promises and you underinvest in magnifying the personal connection that you have with people. How that ties into what you said, Court, is that like I work with a lot of you, but where I find the best connection, whether it's both Tims who I've known for a long time, Vicky knows this, Jared knows this, Court knows this, is like when I have the personal connection with you people. And even when I have these sessions, do I try to make them a little bit more fun, a little bit more joking and less like rigid and about embarrassing you guys and just going through the motions? Can just the experience of the time that you spent with me be memorable in some way, right? in some way. And I want to continue to work on it and do it more. And so ask yourself that question. People are going to go through multiple home buying purchases in their lifetime. Can you make yours memorable and different? That's what Johnny Cupcakes would say. You have one opportunity to make yourself the most memorable possible, or maybe you're going to send that St. Patty Day's Christmas card. I remember I did that one because it was all 4-leaf clovers and green. Will it stand out? Will your half birthday stand out? Will sending them a gift on their dog's birthday stand out? Or if you know that they have a dog, can you send them dog treats and they will remember you forever? Will that stand out? Okay. All right. I'm going to end it with that. Let's go to Sade. I'm going to be honest with you. She was like a little overwhelming for me. I'm not Sade. Iman, she was a little overwhelming for me because she was an AI specialist, but she did rattle off so many AI tools and I started looking at a bunch of them. And I think one that I'm looking at right now is Motion. But what I will say was this is just like a general AI thing. And then I'll ask you too what you thought of it. But like AI is here to stay. And if you're not using it, you got to go all in. I'm going to tell you right now what I'm designing for you guys. And I'm telling you this because, again, I want to design in public so you guys know what I'm talking about. So I've designed some coaches. I've designed some AI coaches that help me with my business. And I've given them names. And I've given them names because I was inspired by Iron Man who has Jarvis. Robert Downey Jr. walks down and says, "Good morning, Jarvis." And Jarvis is like, "Hey," right? And Jarvis is with him all the time. So I created a bunch of coaches for me. I have a billionaire coach, a social media coach, a sales coach, a health coach, everything. I'm going to tell you right now what's coming down the pipe. I'm going to be creating a KM performance coach as a GPT that when I give you guys links, you guys will be able to ask it questions and it will answer in the way that I would answer. What to do next, how to organize your day, what to do. Because I've realized that AI will make my business better and AI will make your business better too. If you ever got to that point where you want to design your own AI coach and it help answer consumer questions in a certain way, it's a little bit riskier, by the way, if you do that. Okay. Because dating and mortgage is a lot different than coaching because you guys are committed to me a little bit differently. But that's the way the world is going when it comes to AI. And really look into the different tools. Core, anything else you got from Aman or your AI journey that you're doing?
And yeah, I'm kind of with you. There was so much there. I'm trying to look at my notes if there's anything.
It was a lot, right? It was like, Jared,
Yeah, it was
anything. She was very intense. It was almost
very
Not
intense.
too much, to be honest. That one was one I didn't really pay attention to.
okay.
I'm just handing
Fair.
up. That was on me.
Fair. Okay. Let's move on to Clint Pulver. Clint Pulver this dude was something else. So he comes out with a drum set and it was really amazing because he played the drums. Not only did he play the drums, let me see if I can find it, but he gave everybody in the audience a set of drumsticks and we all drummed together at the event. And you know what's really interesting about that is that this was the irony in this court is that Johnny Cupcakes talked about the customer experience, but Clint Pulver was the one that actually delivered it.
Yeah.
Think about it, right? Yeah, Johnny, you got to make this memorable. But what did Johnny do? He just sat there and he just talked on stage. Clint was a drummer and then he gave everybody drumsticks to follow along. And I'm going to show you because it was like this amazing thing that we all did together, right? And he just got involved and we just all started drumming together. And it was a really memorable experience. But what did he talk about? What was really important? But what he talked about was he's an employee retention expert. Now, not everybody has an employee, but you do. Okay. Now, really quickly in chat, put in the chat if you have somebody working for you, whether it's an LOA, anybody working for you, just name whoever works for you, right? Like you have a team. And here's the thing, Jared, even if you don't pay the team or if you share the team, like Joaquin, you may say no, but you still have somebody that works for you. They're not paid by you, they're the processor, but they still work for you. Does that make sense? Okay. So one of the things that Clint talked about is retention. Now, Joaquin, I understand that your processor doesn't work for you, but you still want to think about retention and why she would want to work for you, why she would want to continue working for you. Does that make sense? Because the closer you are in connection, the more she's going to want to do for you or he, right? Okay. So he really talked about that employee connection. And I love this chart that he said. He said, This is like the order of what people find important. It's the 6 foundations of recognition. So ask yourself this question. How often are you giving vocal praise to people that work for you? Great job. Thank you so much for going above and beyond. I could not have done it without you. Then experiences. What kind of experiences can you provide for them? Look, a lot of people that don't work for you still work for you. It would be cool. I used to do this. It would be cool if you gave them a massage gift certificate. It's not money. Like, this is really cool too. Walk to your processor, walk to your LOA and put $200 on their desk. But before that, give them something else. You know where Lindsay is right now? Lindsay is at Universal Studios in LA. I didn't know she was going to Universal, but I found out she was going to Universal Studios in LA. So I found it out on Saturday. She said, I'm going to go tomorrow. So I'm like, all right, I'm from LA. Hang on, let me call you back. I called her back and I says, you and your 4 are going to go to Universal. It's a busy weekend. I have a friend that works at Universal. I'm going to gift you 4 VIP tickets that are not available to the public. These are front of the line passes that you can go to the front line as much as you want, unlimited throughout the park. And I made her experience with her family that much better because she's going to remember that, right? My last assistant, Jessica, a lot of you don't know this, but she had never taken her kids on a trip before. She just couldn't afford it. So one of my coaching clients had an Airbnb in Orlando. And what we put together was we had all the coaching clients contribute $50 to $100 each. We bought our plane tickets and 3 tickets to Disney World and let her stay in the Airbnb for free. You got to create experiences for the people that matter to you, even if they don't work for you, because they will go above and beyond. Okay, they will go above and beyond. Tim remembers that. Time off and flexibility. Again, I hate the fact that she's not here, but she loves the fact that she doesn't get 2 weeks of vacation a year. She's clocking in and she's looking at her time card. She wanted to take her kids to Universal and I let it happen. I said, don't worry about it. I got it. They value that. 4th is money. I appreciate the money in the paycheck, but every once in a while, walk up to their desk and throw 2 $100 bills on their desk. Make it more whatever, right? Okay. 5 is food. Buy them lunch every once in a while. Take them out to eat. Everybody loves food. And then finally, trophies and awards. Clint went through, what did he say? Like thousands and thousands of interviews. And it was like, be a mentor, be a leader to him, be a leader to them. That's what he did. He was he's the undercover boss, right? But he just called the undercover millennial. By the way, if you ever want to watch Undercover Boss, watch the one with the Star Wars episode. Who's the one I'm talking about with the mask? Kylo Ren. Watch if you watch Star Wars with Kylo Ren, watch Undercover Boss with Kylo Ren. It's the most amazing episode possible because Kylo Ren goes to the Death Star pretending he's not Kylo Ren. And it's really funny. But they did this whole undercover episode. I got one last thing, the closing with Clint, but Jared, what else did you take about closing with Clint, like in terms of being a great leader?
I think you covered part of it. I actually have it here. There's 5. I don't know if you cover the 5 C's of influence.
I don't know that I have it written here, but maybe.
All right. So the 5 C's of influence. So the first one is confidence.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Confidence, credibility. So that is, I think that's a huge one. It all ties together. He tied this whole presentation really well together. But I take that to heart because, like, I have a virtual assistant that's starting next week. So that'll be interesting to see how I can tie this into that.
Yep. These are the 5. That's you being a mentor, is to give them confidence. Have confidence in yourself, establish credibility in yourself, be competent, have candor with them and care. Court, anything else to add? And then I've got one more to close him out. But any other impression that you got from Clint Pulver?
Nothing outside of what you guys talked about.
One of the things that he did, so everybody that says yes, somebody that works for you personally, I thought that this was groundbreaking as well too. He said, sit down with your employees and do what's called the stay interview. It's the opposite of an exit interview. An exit interview is, okay, now that you're leaving, tell me a little bit about the experience, things that I could change, the things that you like, et cetera, right? Have a stay interview with your employee where you sit down with them and you say, I really appreciate you, remember verbally, and say, my goal is to have you stay forever. You know, I always joke with Lindsay that if she quits, I'm just going to shut the company down. So let me ask you a question. what frustrates you, what's working, how can I support your future goals? So this is the only place that you're ever going to want to work. And there's a lot of people here that have called me at one point in time and said, my world just turned upside down because my LOA left me. My right-hand person left me. That won't happen if you do stay interviews. Okay. You best believe that I'm having those every Tuesday with Lindsay. You just got to stay one more week. Just don't leave, right? Okay. Stay interviews. And you know what? I could say this too. You could have a stay interview. How about this, Jared? Have a stay interview with your agent. What's working? What's frustrating? How can I improve our experience together so that you don't ever want to use another lender? How could I support your goals? Stay interviews work with your business partners too.
I do that pretty much anytime. If I work with somebody new, even if it's a lead that didn't close, I just ask, what'd you feel about our process up to this point?
Yeah. That's a pseudo exit interview from so we'll call that a transitional interview because that's a pseudo exit interview from the transaction being done. But now how do we transfer that into hey, I know the transaction, like to a listing agent, I know the transaction is over, but let me ask you a question. What worked? What didn't work? How could I support your goals so that we can work together again? So that's an exit transitioning to a stay interview for agents that you work with. Okay.